Welcome back to another episode of Psychonaut Sessions, your home for all things psycho. This is your host, Daniel Muller. I'm going to take a look today at Revolving Doors from Chris Miller, um, Blackthorne Publishing. I think I've covered maybe some Blackthorne Publishing books in the past. It was a company that started in that 1980s black and white boom around 87, maybe it was 86. Yeah, I think they did start in 86. They only lasted a few years. They're really popular for a series of like 3D books. But they did also have some licensed properties that they supported, like Dick Tracy, California Raisins, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. And they tried here and there to kind of create their own indie books. This one was done by Chris Miller, both written and drawn. It's an interesting little artifact I found in the dollar bin. Not sure that they created any more after this one. I hope so. I would like to check it out. Mostly because this is kind of a confusing piece, and I just kind of want to know what's going on, what's up. The artwork is pretty interesting. Chris Miller worked on Alien Worlds. I think he did some Miss Mystic. He did work for other companies, I think, other than Marvel and DC. He's got a very interesting brush technique that provides a lot of texture, and when colored well, is really nice. I like quite a bit. And this is kind of an interesting cover. I mean, it was just kind of intriguing to me because I like covers that don't necessarily just, hey, we're superheroes. Like it was different. It's always got some like weird magical kind of fantasy element, and even tells you magic, fantasy. I guess maybe they were categorizing their comics. Not sure. But it intrigued me enough to want to open it and find out what was going on. Lord have mercy. Everybody trying to get in on that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle bandwagon. Alien ducklings. No, thank you. I don't think I'm gonna. No. So here we kind of start right off the splash page. Like I said, Chris Miller wrote and drew this. And man, had a really hard time kind of understanding what this was at first. It's interesting when you see something on a screen as opposed to live, especially when it's black and white. It's sometimes harder to discern what things are live. But essentially what this says is that there is this like hotel here with a, what is that called, awning over it, and this guy's actually kind of like a homeless dude or something who's got his own little like makeshift place that he's created like in an alley across the way. I thought it was like a dude sleeping at first in just a city scene, and I couldn't understand. But this guy is sleeping, and he gets woken up and sees this weird like creature guy. He's got one half of him's got some sort of weird uniform on, the other not quite a uniform, and fighting some weird tentacle monster. And he wipes his eyes, and there's some splotches of ink, and then whatever that was gone. And I guess this is taking place at the awning, but it's not really made clear. And he just thinks it's a dream, and he has this bird he's connected to that he has as a pet, and holds it, and then he goes off walking, which is weird. Looks like he's just like walking off into a bunch of reeds or something. So the texturization of the brushwork is very interesting, very dynamic. But you'll find there's a lot of like white space and a lot of ambiguity of like not really knowing or like understanding what's going on. And I think what happened is I think that they made this with the intention of it being colored. And they were going to rely on the colorist to provide. So this is inked in such a way, I think, where they were leaving a lot of room for the colorist to be able to do stuff. There's just a lot of empty space, a lot of parts that just like aren't filled in very well that really should be communicating a lot more. And it makes it for a very confusing read. But that's what I think is happening here. So this boy's name is Stepan, and he's kind of trying to earn some cash because he's homeless. I guess selling newspapers off the street. And then after a while, he sold some stuff and he's feeding these birds. He's obviously a really good boy, likes animals and whatnot. And these punks come up, they trip him. They obviously give him a hard time. They call him that bird guy or whatever. He gets, he's upset, like, those bastards. And this guy comes up to him and is like, what would you like? He's like, what do you care? He's like, he's like, just for once I'd like to. And he's like, what would you like to do? He's like, what do you care? He's like, maybe I'm bored. I was saying if I'd had a shotgun I'd blast him right away. Glad you asked. Not really. So it's this dude. And then this guy looks back over and says, you'd like that, huh? Like, after saying not really. I'd feel better. Perhaps. Goodbye. Humph. And the guy gives him a look. Again, a lot of white space, not a lot being communicated here. And then that's it. That's the exchange. So later that night, a lot of just like those like kind of retextures, I guess, to communicate darkness. Again, so much white space, but it looks like that the punks came and wrecked his house and killed the bird. So he's getting angry. There's this effect that people do when they're trying to ink someone who's like got their eyelids closed, but it almost looks like they're like Storm or something from the X-Men. Like they have these like blank eyes. Looks kind of weird. Probably would have done better to just do pure blacks there. But he grabs a crowbar and he's like going to attack them. I do like the way this particular page is laid out, and this kind of weird feathering that's going on here, and it's kind of like built in over here as well as he's getting ready to come out onto the street. Pretty cool. So he goes up to the punks. Again, he's playing with layouts, but it's just like here, 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 here. But all of this kind of bleeds over into it too. And with all this white space and not a whole lot of else going on, it's just, it's hard to kind of figure out what's happening. And it's not for lack of effort. Like this guy, you can tell with his line work, Chris Miller, just like he knows how to draw characterization. He's a really great cartoonist. So I don't know if this is his first work or not, but again, if you keep as we go further and further, it's really hard to kind of tell where he's at and what's going on. So he's running away from these guys now. He is coming up on the awning of the hotel. Not sure what's happening here, but after you have to study it for a little bit, you understand, oh, it's that like hotel dude, and he was that weird half-world person, whatever. So he's running, and this is the only backgrounds that are created for him running down the street. It's literally just like a couple of lines hatched, and that's it. Like no real fill-in, no detail as to where he's at and what these people are standing on. So this hotel doorman lets the boy in. He goes in through the door. Something magical is happening. A mistake. An open door. Why it's just his eyes, and it's just I don't know. I don't know what he was going for here. But this guy's coming in and he flicks some magic at him and knocks him away. Then was very confused about what was happening here. Again, it's interesting because as I look at it on the screen, it's like somehow more clear. I don't know why. But apparently he's turning back around and going in through the door. So like in the comic, you don't really even get a sense of like the revolving door at all. You just get kind of this and that. You don't really know what's happening because there's no detail showing it to you. You just get some motion lines, and you don't even like understand that he's okay turning around and going back through the door. But after looking through this several times, it's like, okay, I get it. And he's turned back into this other kind of character, I guess his other form, his real form. And then he's kind of they're going through different worlds here. So they're traveling through different planes of existence. So I think this is the doorman dude, and this is the boy who got sucked through, and he's getting sucked through into this other world here. The brushwork here is really beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's very polished. It's a little hard to understand what's happening, but it's gorgeous nonetheless. Again, I really think they intended for this to be colored, and it's just evidence more and more I go through this. So this boy lands, and he's like, "What did you do? Like, how did I get here? What? And why do you look so different?" And he's like, "Get here? Bad timing, I suppose. And everything here is different. I should ask you why you are not. I hope you're not holding something back." He says that to the boy, and the boy's like, "Not me. Listen, kid, I don't know what you were into back there, but things happen here that can't happen anywhere else. Be careful what you do, think, or say. Your actions will be very obvious." He's like, "What are you talking about?" And then he goes, "What's that? That?" And it's just like, I guess trees. I don't know what's happening here. And this doesn't make it any more clear. And I'd say that is soon come. I've got to go. And then leaves. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's a typo. I guess it is. But we don't even know what they're looking at. And then he just so he pulls this boy in, and then he just leaves the boy. So something's happening. There's this weird kind of female creature thing that's like careening across the page or across the panel. I don't know if they're on fire or what. And then we get this like giant weird lizard robot thing coming out of the woods. So it looks like it is like looking for and capturing like fairies and stuff. I guess that's what that is. Or just people. I don't understand what this is. Like, what's supposed to be here? All of a sudden, the boy is like, "Ah," and then there's this guy that's not seen anywhere else saying, "Hold up," and like, I don't understand this kind of panel choice and what that's supposed to be. Is a separate box, and why is that in the same box? Like, this is very confusing. And I guess like whatever this is on the side of that giant creature thing that's coming through and capturing beings. This one's used up, bring another, and they have these like weird things that they put on their hearts, and they put some kind of like thing on their heads, and they're collecting people. I'm assuming, my coffee cup, I'm assuming he's supposed to be hiding behind something. Wasn't sure what that was until I'm like, okay, that's the thing where they're capturing people. That's like the wheel track, and that big creature thing is pulling it behind, I guess. Yeah. So again, just a ton of white space that doesn't really make a lot of sense. It doesn't really clearly communicate or convey. There's a dude here who apparently captures him from behind. And this guy's like, fools, release him, can't you see? He's not of this world. He's the one. Uh-oh, ladies and gentlemen, we got that the one terminology going on here. Ugh, I hate that. Send word, I'll take him. And then he's just standing here. I guess that's the same dude. Or, like, I guess he's on something. And apparently he's on a horse, and the kid got on, but we don't see that here. We just see him. So, and apparently, so they're running along some weird horse. So he does this. He keeps doing this thing where the brush strokes act as a separate panel, moving on to the next scene and then bleeding into it. It's an interesting concept, but I think he's like just doing it so much and doing it in ways that it doesn't like fully make sense. You know, it just weird. So they're approaching this giant castle, really, actually quite cool looking. So obviously, I mean, this guy is a competent illustrator. I really love the use of the blacks here and like the tree. I mean, that's gorgeous. So they go into this place. It's actually kind of like a city, I think, fortress. A lot of people around, and let him decide. Let him have a choice. And he's like, forget about it. They bring him up to these stairs, and there's this weird dude with a weird, I don't know what that is. It's like a hair, like one of those hairstylist bulbous, I don't know. You can kind of clearly supposed to see through it. Some kind of bag. Head bag. Greetings, upsetter, they call him. So you have come to judge our work. For the progression, allow me to show you the wonders performed by the machine. So it's like they were expecting this boy. Not really sure. But the machine, automation, food production, leisure, and weapons. He's like, why weapons? For protection. For the progression, of course. Who's the enemy? The boy asks. Ho ho, a sense of humor? Quaint. But now it's time for a feast in your honor. And there's a girl here, like, I guess a servant girl somewhat, and she's looking shocked. So they pass by, and he says, behold, and then there's this huge, like, feast kind of thing. Again, like, a lot of, you know, there's some, like, cool detail and stuff, and then it's like he just doesn't want to draw anymore. It's like detail where detail would be helpful. Otherwise, everybody in this book looks like a bunch of phantoms and stuff, just kind of fading into the background a lot. So some sort of feast, and they ask him, you know, about, like, you know, it's going to be time to decide soon, whatever. But now and entertain her, and like whatever. So it's like the boy's getting wooed, and she's like, come with me, and they're like, oh yeah, you can, you know, we do that for our, you know, our slaves, you know, we whatever. So she goes off with him, and they run down some kind of corridor, and she's like, they mean to seduce you for the mechanics, and yes, mechanics for the progression. They keep talking about the progression. This is a pretty cool scene. And I don't know, maybe, I don't know about the color thing, maybe like certain scenes like this, and then that initial city scene where you got to see the landscape, like he just did so much work on those that on the others he just, yep, I'm keeping a lot of white in the background here. So yeah, all these people are like hooked up to this great machine or something and being used like Matrix style, like batteries. And she's like, this is what I'm talking about. Go lend your hand in the crystal towers. Grandmother showed me this. She knew you would come. Follow the animal trail outside this door. It's faint. So watch for signs. Yeah, very faint. I can't see shit. It's just all white space. So watch for signs. The forest may help damn, okay, here goes, good luck, and then he runs off and that's it. Like, no explanation. Like, why did this guy move this boy through the store? Why can't, like, what's happening? No clue. Am I interested enough to continue? Yeah, I'm interested enough. Mostly because, I mean, it is kind of a fun, intriguing concept, I guess. I still don't know what the heck is happening, but the artwork is, like, neat. It is, like, I mean, despite the places where I don't understand what's, and I think that's what I like about it. I'm having to decipher what's going on. It would have been interesting for some of these black and white comics back in the day to kind of know what their process was of, hey, um, were you planning on using color, or if not, why did you make these choices? Like, even just some tones or grays would have helped, um, just create some definition, to just know, like, oh, okay, this is. I think it's because the way he's using his ink brush, just everything feels like it's on the same dimension. It's hard to tell what's in the background, what's in the foreground. Um, what, if anything, is supposed to have actual textures, because he doesn't really have specific textures. He just has, like, a very specific type of brush stroke, which is beautiful and very elegant. Um, but it like overall, it just kind of creates a confusing scenario in some cases. But pretty interesting. Hamster Vice, God bless. Whew, I need to get some of these. These are some other Blackthorne. So, and more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle riffs. Cold Blooded Chameleon Commandos. Laugh and Gas. It was kind of like their gag book. There's their Dick Tracy thing. Purple Snit. He's fussy, he's feisty, he's cranky, and he's mean. He didn't invent revenge, he raised it to an art form. Oh, with a special guest appearance by Hammy Hamster. Whatever. So here's, just an array of some of their books. I think I have Street Wolf. I need to pull that one out, take a look at it. But yep, that's Revolving Doors. I don't think that they really. I don't think that there was ever a number two. This might have been one of those, just these flops that it didn't do well. But very interesting to kind of see what was happening during this period of 86, 87. Throwing something against the wall, trying something pretty different. I give them props for that. This is definitely a different concept, magical fantasy kind of thing, and they were definitely trying to do some interesting things with the artwork. Just don't think it landed, but really cool artifact. Thanks for sticking around, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed the book. Like and subscribe. You can also buy some of my books in the shop. I've got comics, I got a Patreon account. Everybody take it easy out there, keep it safe, keep it psycho.